So Dwarf Lab reached out to me and asked me if I'd like to do a review on the new Dwarf II smart telescope. After going back and forth and having some conversations with them, I agreed. They have sent me the unit on extended loan for review, and they also told me that I can give one of these units away to one of you guys watching this video today, and we'll go over that more later in the video. One of my stipulations was that I can do a fair and honest review, that they have no say in what I do or what I say, how I test it or anything, and they completely agreed with me. They only asked that I go back to them if I did find any issues, or if I had any problems with it, which of course I would do. Give them a chance to fix anything that possibly could come up during testing. What I say about it is 100% all my opinion, and Dwarf Lab has no say so in it at all. Also, I wanted to say, if you're interested after watching this video in buying a Dwarf II unit, I am an affiliate with Dwarf Lab, so I'll leave links to them as well as to Amazon. So you can pick whether you want to purchase it from Amazon or Dwarf Lab. Either way, like I said, they're affiliate links, so I get a little bit of a kickback for it, but it doesn't cost you guys anything more to do that. It's just one way to support the channel if you want to do so. So we're going to do a quick unboxing, and then we'll start getting everything set up and get it outside on the next clear night. All right, so we got to get it out of plastic wrap here first. And the first box we have, these are probably the filters. Yep, so we have two solar filters and an ultra high contrast filter, and the filter holder that snaps on the front of the unit. There's the Dwarf. Looks like it's in a nice case for us already. I'm just amazed at how small this is. I knew it was tiny, but I didn't realize it was this small, I guess. And there's our quick start card. This is just a strap for the bag. Battery. And our tripod. 64 gig memory card. And the unit itself. Bag to the side. I'm shocked at how small this thing is. This is really cool. This is the battery compartment in the back here. Already has a battery in it. If you get the deluxe version, which is what they sent me, you also get a second battery with it. I should have mentioned too, the deluxe is what comes with the filters that I showed you guys and the extra battery. And I believe right up in here, yep, that's where our memory card would go. So I'll have to get that in place. Power button up on top, indicator ring. So next step, we'll fire up my phone and get the application installed, and then we'll start playing. Okay, so let's get this thing set up. The first thing that I wanted to note is the Dwarf II does not come with a charging block of any kind. So there is a USB-C port on the bottom, so any USB charger will work for you. Our battery indicator shows us, it looks like it's about 75% charged out of the box, so that'll be good. I'm not going to leave it plugged in right now because we're going to put the memory card in next, which is right up in here. So we'll just open up our slot, take our 64 gig card, push it in until it clicks, and snap our cover back on. And up top is the power button. So we're just going to press, the unit turns on, and then over to my Android phone. In the Play Store, look for Dwarf Lab from Convergence Technology. I'm going to hit install. Tap on open. Agree to the service agreement. We're going to allow access to my device's location because it needs it so it knows where it's at. And as well as allow photos and everything to be recorded into our gallery. Next step is just hit the connection button. Again, allow permissions. Searching for the camera, I'm going to tap on that, and now it's connecting to the telescope. Prompts to connect to the temporary Dwarf network, hit connect. Looks like it's connected. And that's it. And our ring's gone solid from the spinning light that we had previously. And looks like we're ready to go with it. So setup was pretty easy. We'll get this thing out on my next clear night and start playing around with it. Shooting solar is very simple. The deluxe version comes with some solar filters that you must put on before you aim the Dwarf II up at the sun. Otherwise you could damage the sensors within the unit itself. And make sure that you do put both. It comes with two. You want to make sure you put both of them on because you need to protect both telephoto and the wide angle lens. And they simply just screw into the holder. And then flip the Dwarf II up so you can get your lenses on. The label, telephoto, and wide angle Just match them up with telephoto and wide angle on the unit itself. And that's it. We're ready to start shooting the sun. So we're going to take this. We're going to aim it up towards the sun the best we can, just kind of eyeballing it without staring at it too much. We'll turn the unit on and we're connected with the app. So with the filters on and the unit pointed at the sun, you can see in our wide field view in the top left corner here, you can see the sun. So we're going to use our little joystick in the bottom left corner, and we're going to get the sun into that green box, which will bring it into our telephoto view. And over on the bottom right corner, the 3 vertical lines are your actual slew speed. So if it's going too fast and jumping around, you can crank the slew speed down. A little bit finer control, getting the sun centered where you want it. Alright, we'll say that's good. And then over on the left hand side, we're going to bring our settings open, and we're going to change our shutter to, I think 250 should do good. Gain 0. And then our focus, you can either use the auto or the plus and minus. If we hit the auto, it does a decent job, but I find using the plus and minus works a little bit better for us. Go back into the settings here. Shutter speed, maybe if we speed it up a little bit to 320. You can zoom in by pinching and zooming. You can pan by just dragging your finger across the screen. We'll close the focus, and if we tap the feature button, you'll see we have a sun option here, which will track the sun for us. Just telling you to confirm that you're level and about 3 degrees tilted, which we are. And now we're actively tracking the sun. So we're on the photo settings. We can tap our green button, take a picture. We could also come over to our video, and we can shoot a video as well. Top middle of the screen is the countdown for the time that it's been recording for. You can actually see the sunspots, and that's actually how you want to focus, is look for your sunspots. Go one way or the other, overshoot it both directions until you find the perfect focus point. All right, let's take a break for a minute and talk about the giveaway. Dwarf Lab has generously agreed to allow me to give away one of the Dwarf II units to one of my viewers, but there are metrics that we need to meet in order to be able to do that. So what they require is this video right now that you're watching, within 1 month after I publish it, it has to have 3,000 views, 100 likes, and 10 comments. Now, I'm pretty confident we're going to reach that, but if you're interested in possibly winning one of these things, help me get to those metrics so we can get this thing away to one of you guys. Like I said, I'm pretty confident we're going to hit those numbers, but there are metrics behind this giveaway that if we don't meet it, then I can't give one away. So help me reach those 3,000 views, 100 likes, 10 comments. Easy enough, I think. Second thing I want to talk about is when we do reach those, the way the contest is going to go. Sometime after that 30 days, and we reach those numbers, I'm going to randomly select somebody from the comments to be the winner. And I'm going to have you guys jump through a few hoops because there's scammers out there, and I don't want to get burned. I don't want to see anybody watching the channel get burned. So like I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to randomly select somebody from the comments. When I pick that winner, I'm going to reply to that comment and tell you that you're the winner. At that point, I need you to send me an email, and my address is rich@deepspaceastro.net, not .com, .net. You can also get my address on the front of the channel if you click up on the link towards the top. They took the About tab away, so I'm not even sure where it's at now. But again, the email address is rich@deepspaceastro.net. When I receive your email, I'm going to reply back to it. I'm going to give you a code or a phrase. I'm not sure yet what I'll be sending back to you, but I'm going to tell you to go back to your original comment and reply to my reply with that code or phrase that I gave you. That allows me to know that it is in fact you that I chose. So another popular scam that I want you guys to watch out for during this giveaway, when you get a comment saying that you're the winner, make sure it's from me. Click on the username next to that comment and make sure it takes you to my channel. If you're not sure, don't hesitate. Send me an email and I'll let you know right then and there if you in fact were the one that was chosen. So let's continue on with the video and the review and how to use this thing. It's really cool. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Okay, so before you start shooting astrophotography, in the app, if you scroll all the way to the very end option in the menu, you have something called Astro Dark. You absolutely need to create these images before you start imaging at night. You only need to do it once, maybe once every 6 months. If you don't do the darks, you'll see a bunch of red and blue colored pixels peppered throughout your image. So don't skip this step. It'll take about 10 minutes, but like I said, after that, you've got about 6 months or so. If you start seeing those hot pixels appear after a few months, then it's time to reshoot your darks again. The way that Dwarf Lab recommends that you do it is to flip the lenses down so they're covered within the unit themselves. and then take the dwarf and put it upside down in the bag. We're going to take off the tripod before doing so. We're going to put it upside down. And then they say to throw it into a cupboard or a closet nice and dark. I'm pretty dark out here tonight, so I'm just going to throw this black blanket, this black cloth over the top of it to keep any possibility of light getting through. And then in the app, we'll go to Astro Dark, hit record. I've already ran through this, but I'm going to do it again just to restart. And like I said, this will take about 10 minutes. So we'll let this finish. And once it does, then we'll come back and we'll start shooting our images. Okay, our dark frames had finished. I killed the red light filter because camera's not behaving properly with it. I'm shooting with my 8-inch SCT tonight, so hopefully it doesn't mess things up too much. But let's get this back out of the bag. And I'm not going to use the tripod that came with it. I found that when it's mounted, it just takes a little gust of wind to vibrate. During the day, it's okay to use, but I'm going to recommend that you do one or two things at night when you do an astrophotography. And that's either put it on a sturdier tripod or just set it on the ground. There is a rubber pad that goes around here, so it is intended to be on a flat surface without the tripod. So we're going to start by first flipping up the lenses so we can see it, and we're just going to find the brightest stars that we can see with our own eyes and just aim it where we think it'll see some stars. And then in the app, we're going to go over to Astro, and I'm going to kill the light while we do this. We can just slew around using the joystick on the left here. We're going to set our exposure time to 1 second, and we're going to bump up the gain. And this is just so we can see what we're focusing on here. Close the settings. And that looks pretty good already, but we will tap on the focus and we will hit the auto button and see what it does. Sometimes it does a pretty good job, other times not so much. We'll see what we get this time. So once the auto that's turning green right now, once that goes back to white, that's an indication that the autofocus routine is finished. And it did, and we see nothing. So we're going to use the plus and minus buttons to bring the stars back into focus. Okay, starting to come back into focus now. And I try to overshoot it a little bit and then go back the other way and then decrease the amount of steps that I do that in back and forth until I feel like I'm in focus. So I think that's good. We're going to close our wide field view. We're going to hit the focus button to get those controls out of the way, and we're going to hit feature. Next step you want to do before you start shooting is your calibration. It's important that you do the calibration first, because if you don't, if you come over and you start setting your exposure time and everything, the calibration is going to reset everything that you just put in the settings for exposure and such. So don't worry about your settings until after calibration. And it's probably hard to see because I got the lights off, but it is slewing around. Yeah, you can see the lights. You can see it's moving. It's aligning the motors to figure out where it's at. And then it's going to start taking images and plate solve. And plate solving is basically just taking a picture of the sky, looking it up against the database to figure out where it's actually pointing at. And it's important to note too, I didn't point this telescope towards the north. I didn't do any kind of polar alignment. You literally can just set it down, focus your stars, and start your calibration. So calibration success. And we're going to hit feature and then to auto go to. And tonight I am going to try the North American Nebula. So just scroll up to find the object you want to shoot and hit confirm. Sometimes it fails with the plate solving, but it's slewing around, so it will come back around and confirm that it found the object. You can see it's listing NGC 7000 North American Nebula. We're going to tap on more. We're going to tap on count. And max you can do is 999. We're just going to start with 100 exposures right now. We want fits format, binning 2x2, display stacked, hit confirm. Then we're going to come over to our settings, set it to 15, gain of 80, and then hit the red button to start the session. You can see in the top right corner there in the green text, it's showing us our exposure time is 15 seconds, our gain is 80, We're taking a total of 100 images. It's currently taken 0 and stacked 0. So after 15 seconds, we'll see the current tick up to 1 and then 2. And then it feels like generally when it starts to work on the third exposure, we'll start seeing the stack number increase and we'll start seeing our image appear on our screen. All right, so there's 2 stacked images and you can already see the North American Nebula. I mean, for what this little thing is, that's pretty amazing. And again, we can pinch and zoom if we wanted to. So we'll let this run for the 100 exposures and we'll come back and I'll show you what the final stacked image looks like. Okay, our 100 exposures had finished and that's the final stack right there. You know, we're talking 25 minutes. That's pretty impressive for such a small unit like this. You can see down in the bottom left-hand corner, these are just stacking artifacts from field rotation since this is an Alt-Az type of mount. What I want to do now is I'm going to push this to the limit. We can do a maximum of 999 exposures. The battery in this thing is good for a couple hours, but you can also plug it into an external power source to let it run even longer. So obviously, even with a fully charged battery, 2 hours is not going to last me the 4 that I want to shoot now. So I am going to get this plugged in and I'm going to try and do this without disturbing the mount so I don't have to run through calibration again. But there we go. So we can see the green lights on the side here are starting to flash because it's charging. And then the next thing that I want to do is they also, along with the solar filters, have provided us with a light pollution filter. So we're going to get that put on. So we'll get the light pollution. That's good. We'll get the light pollution screwed on carefully. Put it in place. Since we put the light pollution filter on, we need to check focus. So we're going to tap on our live view up top here. And I'm going to turn off this light once again. So it's because it is washing everything out. We're going to set our exposure time to 1 second. And we're going to bump the gain up so we can see these stars. And actually that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to play with the manual focus a little bit just to ensure that I can get it as close as I can. And I think that's good. So we'll close the focus. We'll close the wide angle view. Back in the Astro, we'll hit feature. We're already tracking, so we're going to go over to more. 999, that's good. We're going to set this to 15 seconds again, leave it at gain 80, and start shooting. And again, up on top, 15-second exposures at 80 gain. So we're going to let this run, and we'll check it in the morning because it's going to hit about midnight, and my butt will be in bed by then. We'll let this run through a few images right now just so we can see the stack come through, and then I am going to call it a night and check on things in the morning. So it's currently at 2 exposures, so the first, there we go, the stack. And I think I can actually see a little bit more of the hydrogen alpha with that light pollution filter on there. It's pretty good. That's just a 30-second stack we're looking at right now. Yeah, wow. I think I'm seeing even more detail with that light pollution filter on. So, cool. Well, like I said, I'm going to wrap it up and we'll check it in the morning. And for you, it'll be a few seconds. For me, it's going to be another 12 hours. So just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update here. We are currently stacked 32 frames and this thing is looking fantastic. I mean, that's a lot better with the light pollution filter. The other thing I want to say too is I am currently standing about 230 to 240 feet away from the Dwarf II unit. So connected to the telescope from my phone, line of sight, there's nothing in between me. I'm still outside and it's still connected. That's pretty good range. So I just thought you guys might like to know that. Also too, I was out of range and my app disconnected. And when I reconnected it, I saw my session is still running, which is what I was hoping for. I figured that's what would happen, but you know, that's something else for you to know, that your phone does not need to be connected while the session is running. Everything is sent into the unit itself and it's totally autonomous. Does not require the app to continue running. So that's good. So I don't have to leave my phone outside all night long. Okay, so me again, I'm never getting to bed tonight. I almost forgot. I wanted to show you guys one more thing here. So while you're live stacking, if you tap your feature button and up here on where it says more, if you're not on that tab already, tap on more, and this is our histogram. So what you're seeing here on the left side represents the darks in the image, and all the way over to the right represents the whites, and then everything in between. So starting with the white dot on the right hand side of this graph, that's your luminance, your brightness. So you can simply put your finger on the screen or your thumb, whatever you're using, and you can adjust the brightness of the image, moving it up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my darks down just a little bit on the left hand side here, and then I'm going to bring the whites up just to brighten it up a little bit. And then you can see the red, green, and blue dots on the right hand side. You can do the same thing with each color channel, so you can adjust as this is live stacking and try and get that picture to look a little bit better for you. And that, you know, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. It's going to be all to taste, but you can improve the way the image looks. And you'll probably be doing this multiple times throughout the night. Like I said, we're running 999 images right now. So, you know, as the data looks better, we'll probably come back in here and want to make more adjustments to it, brighten it up, to try to see more of what we got there. You know, so you can tweak the image as it goes throughout the night. But again, we'll check back in the morning and show you guys where we're at. Well, it's the next morning. I can't show you guys the screen because I accidentally exited out of it. And when I opened it back up, that last session was cleared out. But this is the final image. You know, it looks really good again for what it is. I can see some red, some colors in there. Obviously, because we did such a long session, you can see in the bottom left corner and the top right corner all the field rotation, again because of the type of mount that it is. That's expected. So again, pretty impressive for what this is. We go back into the gallery. So this again was the one with 999 exposures, and this was our 25-minute exposure without the light pollution filter. So there's a significant difference. Just like always, more exposures, more data, better image. And that light pollution filter did a really good job for us too. So obviously, in addition to shooting galaxies and nebula that's in the built-in catalog, you can also do planets and the moon. Now, what's funny is I'm always hoping that the moon is not out when I'm shooting. And of course, tonight when I wanted to shoot the moon with the Dwarf to show you guys, it's down below the horizon. So can't do the moon tonight, but what we can do is go over and look at the planets. Now, the Dwarf isn't really cut out to view the planets. They're just going to look like bright stars. But what is cool is, for example, Jupiter, if we do a go to, and I'll show you here as soon as it slews over to it. Okay, we're on Jupiter, and I'm just going to pinch and zoom, pan around a little bit, just to get it in the center. But that's what I wanted to show you. That large sphere in the center here is Jupiter, and the 4 small points of light you see are Jupiter's moons. So that in itself is pretty cool. So a planetary, you know, Jupiter, you're not going to see any of the surface details, but it's pretty slick that you can actually see the moons around it. So the other thing the Dwarf is capable of is daytime photography. So not only can we shoot the sun, not only can we do astro imaging at nighttime, we can also take images and videos during the day. So same thing, I'm in the photo mode right now. We're still pointing up at the sky, so that's why it looks all blue. But if I bring it down using the joystick, we can speed it up again over here. We'll bring our preview in. There's the camera that I'm filming with, where you can slew around, find what we look for in the wide field. So the tree over in the distance there, and then again, we can come back over into our focus. And if you try and get it in the focus as much as you can with the plus and minus, and then hit the auto and let it do it itself, it generally does a good job during the day. We'll come over to our settings, and we're gonna put my shutter back into auto. And do the same thing with the gain. We'll put that in auto. Seems to do a pretty good job. White balance, we'll put that in auto. So during the day, the auto functions seem to work really well. Just tap auto, focus locks in, and again, we can slew around. And I actually think we might be getting a little bit of heat waves coming up off of the concrete here. So that's why the picture looks so wavy. But once you get your image in focus and locked in on what you want to take a picture of, just hit the green button, take a photo. If you tap your wide field screen, it switches views for you, and you can take a photo with a wide field lens. Now let's slew over towards my backyard because a friend of mine, I just heard him pull up, and we'll try the tracking feature on him. Oh, there he is, he just made himself at home. So tracking feature works in telephoto, so we're gonna tap that, bring it back over, close the focus, we're gonna hit the feature button, and we're gonna hit track. Stay there, stay. Hey Ariel, stop. So we're gonna hit the tracking button and simply draw a square around him. Hey, dude, stop moving, hang on, you're gonna be on film, stop. All right, so you can see we got the square drawn around him now, and we're gonna move over into video mode and start recording. All right, start walking out that way. And you can see it tracks him. and does a pretty good job. Run, Forrest, run! Seriously, run! Thing I wanted to take just a quick look at is burst mode. So while you're in burst mode, and we can use a joystick again to aim the scope at what we want to take an image of. And for those of you that wondered where I made my logo from, there's the answer. There's my alien sitting in the backyard. So it defaults at 3, so it'll take 3 rapid succession images, and crazily enough you could crank this up to 999. I'm not going to do that. We'll leave it at the 3, and simple enough, just hit the red button and it says start bursting, and boom boom boom, it took 3 quick pictures for us. Next up is the time lapse. So we'll kind of aim the scope up in the clouds here. I don't know how fast they're moving, if this is going to work out or not. But into the time lapse, hit the feature. You have an interval that you can set in the duration. I'm going to leave it at the default of 1 second and then 5-minute duration, and hit the red button again. So we'll let this go for the 5 minutes and see what we end up with. And we put it in Pano, hit the record button. First you'll see the unit slew around, and then it'll come back, and then it'll start taking a panoramic shot for you. And we'll let these ones go. It's at the default setting right now, and I'll show you how you can actually change the number of panels that you can take. Shooting success. So before you start, if you go in the feature, you can see you have defaults 3 rows and 3 columns. You can adjust this just by spinning them up, so we can go as many as 59 rows and 59 columns. That is a lot of panels, but if you want to do a huge panoramic like that, you can. So let's go over the album where everything is stored on the SD card. There's 2 ways you can get into it. The first one is from the screen that you shoot from. You can see in the bottom right corner there's a button that says album. If we tap that, it takes us into our album, obviously. If we back out of this again, and I'm going to hit my X button in the top left corner to close this screen, and it takes me to the main screen of the app when you first run it, and you can see there's a button called album. So that's the second way. You come into here, and we can start reviewing the images and videos that we have taken. So let's start first of all with the panoramic. This is not the panoramic that I shot in the video, but it's another one that I shot afterwards because I wanted to point this out. If you look closely at the tree, you can see, the left side in the middle is nice and lined up, but the right side did not line up properly. There's a slider bar on the right hand side that you can move up and down to make adjustments to correct for that, but going the extreme one direction or the other, there is no setting that gets that entire tree lined up for me. I spoke to Dwarf Lab about that, and they're making improvements to it, and it's available in their beta release. They sent the beta release to me. I just have not had a chance to take a look at it yet and verify, but like a lot of other suggestions they've received and improvements that they've made, they're constantly working on this. So this should be resolved in the next version. Until then, I'm assuming you could probably pull these files off of the SD card and run them through something like Microsoft Ice to do your stitching with. So if we go back to the gallery now, here is our time lapse that we created. And if we hit play, yeah, we can see it. Tree shaking. This, you can see the clouds going across there. So that's really cool. And this is our burst mode, our 3 quick shots that we took here. So they're going to look pretty much the same. But, imagine you're at your kid's football game, and as they're running by, you tell this thing to take 3, 4, 5 rapid succession pictures. You'd get a little bit different movement in each one of them. And then we can get into now our stacks that we did during the astrophotography session. This is the stack that we have with 999 images. On any of these videos or pictures, when you tap on them, you're just viewing it, right? You can zoom in and out, you can rotate it around with 2 fingers, but there's nothing else that you can do while you're viewing right from the SD card. And you're viewing from the SD card if you look on the top middle of the screen where it says camera. So to be able to edit them and save them to your phone and post them to social media, you have to first select what you want to download from the SD card. So again, we're going to pick this stack that we did. I'm long pressing on my picture. You can see there's a little checkbox in that green circle that I've selected it. I could go around and I could tap on all of these if I wanted to download them all to my phone. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to select that stack that we did that night. On the bottom, you have the trash can to delete it. And to the right of that is how you download the image you have selected. So I'm going to tap on that. Now if we come up to the top and change camera, into local, now I have a copy of that on my phone. If I tap it now, we have an extra control over here on the right, which is an edit button. So if I hit my edit button, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. This one on the extreme left will allow you to change the aspect ratio of the image and crop it. This should look familiar to you. I showed you this during our live stack. We can adjust the way the image looks. So same thing. You can play with this bar and brighten things up, and then use the red, green, and blue channels to do the same thing with. You want to bring a little bit more red into it. You know, again, it's all to taste. You get it where you like it. And hit the little sure button on the top right corner. Saves it. Now we get another copy of it right here that we've modified. Back in the edit, other controls, we have saturation, so we can boost the saturation across the image as a whole. Hit the sure button again when you're happy. Again, it created another copy, so it's a non-destructive process. And then over on the right, we have contrast, so we can add a little bit of contrast to this too. So one more step, now that you've modified your image, made some adjustments, got the way that you liked it. While you're on your local storage, long press on the image again, and then you see the button down on the bottom on the right of the trash can, and that is how you export it. It'll ask you to confirm. You just confirm. Export success. Now if we were to jump over in our gallery, there's my image ready for me to share on social media. And then obviously too, I mean, I'm on an Android phone, but you can come in here and do editing as well. So if you prefer to crop in Android, you can crop it right within the app, just to try to get rid of your field rotation stuff. Save over original, that's fine. So different ways of doing it, right? But you know, so there we go. If I wanted to share that up on social media, I'm ready to do so. So what are my thoughts on this thing? Honestly, I like it. It was a lot of fun to use. Zero time to set it up. I mean, a couple minutes and you're off and shooting. Is it something that I would have purchased myself? Honestly, no. And I say that only because I've got my traditional rigs already. I'm already, you know, pretty deep into the hobby, but that's me. I'm very grateful that Dwarf Lab reached out to me and sent me this thing on loan just to play with it. There is a market for this. In my mind, you know, there's a lot of people. I know two people off the top of my head. One's a good friend, one's a family member that I think would be a very good fit for this because they're interested in astrophotography and what I do, but for numerous reasons, they're just not going to get into it, whether it's they don't want to spend the money, or they don't have the money, or they know how much time it takes to, you know, it's a huge learning curve, right? So they know how much time needs to be invested to learn that. And then even after you learn it, you have all the bugs and issues night after night sometimes. There is a market for this smart telescope, and I think they're going to fill it very easily. It's also a good product for outreach, right? To try to get other people interested into the hobby. If Dwarf Lab was not wanting me to send this back to them, I would take this with me to the star parties I go to in the summertime with my astronomy club, because the general public comes in to see what we're doing and ask questions. And I really think this would get some people fired up about the hobby. The other thing I like about it is, you know, I mean, it could be a stepping stone too, right? Once you use the Dwarf for a while, maybe you get to a point where it's like, you know what? I want to start learning how to stack, process my own data. You can do that. You can pull those images that you took that night and run them through Serial and stack them yourself, process them yourself, and make them look 10 times better. So it's kind of a stepping stone that way. I think in my mind right now, the only person that I would not recommend this unit to would be a photographer, right? Somebody that's already got a nice camera and a nice set of lenses and everything. I wouldn't try and talk them out of this, but I would let them know that for about the same amount of money, they can get a small tracker, mount their camera and lens on it, and off they go, and they'll get a lot better images from their expensive digital camera, DSLR, mirrorless, whatever. So they've already got the imaging equipment. They just need something to track the sky with. And the price is about the same between a small tracker and this smart telescope. You guys in the hobby understand what it is. This video is more for the people that are wanting to get into the hobby. And like I said, just don't have the time or the money, whatever the reason. This is a relatively inexpensive way to start shooting astrophotography. And I think it'll do well for a lot of people. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was kind of long, but I really wanted to get into a lot of the functions and features. I have plans for at least one other, maybe two other videos coming up here. Depends how long I can hold on to the unit for to get that done. I also want to say thanks to all my members, both here on YouTube and on buymeacoffee.com. Appreciate everybody. But once again, thanks to everybody. Don't forget about the giveaway. We need 3,000 views, 100 likes, 10 comments, and then we can give one of these things away in a month. See everybody in the next video, and clear skies.